Welcome back everyone, it's Charlie. This is going to be my new Thor 4 Guardians of the Galaxy 3 video. Marvel made a couple big announcements in the past week about how everything's going to work with the big crossovers, so we'll break it all down. There's a whole bunch of Easter eggs. A lot of these characters will also be coming back in Avengers 5 eventually, so I'll explain what's going on with that too. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. We'll do a new Amazon giveaway too. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and let me know which other big characters and movies you want to see Thor cross over into during Marvel Phase 4 and Marvel Phase 5. Thankfully, Chris Hemsworth said that he's sticking around for the long haul all the way through Avengers 5, which obviously isn't going to happen for a couple of years now. Chris Pratt also said that he wants to stick around for a long time too. But just starting with the big stuff first, if you didn't see it recently, Marvel just announced how the Thor 4 Guardians of the Galaxy 3 crossover scenes in the stories are going to work. Right after Avengers Endgame, we'd heard that some version of a crossover between Thor and the Guardians of the Galaxy and Guardians 3 and Thor 4 would happen. We just didn't know which characters they'd be doing and what the story of that was going to be between the Guardians showing up in Thor 4 and then Thor showing up in Guardians 3. Way back at the beginning of the year, Vin Diesel completely spilled the beans on everything. I'm sure he got a really nasty text from James Gunn about giving away big spoilers, so Tom Holland is not the only spoiler man inside the MCU.
Thor will also, the director talked to me about how Thor will incorporate some of the Guardians of the Galaxy, which would be very interesting. Nobody knows, but maybe I shouldn't have said anything. But I only have two words about that character, and it is Alpha Groot.
James Gunn has also been talking more about Guardians 3 recently as well, and about how everything has changed about the Marvel movies since Marvel changed the order that they're releasing everything, and that kind of messed up the original crossover story plans and their post-credit scene plans. Normally everything gets released in a certain order and they have certain post-credit scenes that tease the next movie. Kevin Feige also said something similar in a recent interview separately for the Black Widow movie. Yes, we've changed the order of all the Marvel Phase 4 movies, but we've had to make a few minor changes so that nothing gets spoiled or revealed before it's ready to be revealed. You may have noticed recently that Marvel just started making more noise about all the stuff that's coming up in the past month because Wandavision is getting ready to be released, and thankfully they finally revealed when they're actually releasing Wandavision episodes, so I'll explain that stuff at the end of the video too. Thankfully, there's a really big Disney investor meeting happening December 10th where they're going to be releasing a lot of footage and previews of all their upcoming programming. That includes the Marvel movies and the Marvel Disney Plus series. But number 4, per Marvel's announcement, the only Guardians of the Galaxy 3 characters that have been confirmed for Thor 4 are Chris Pratt and Vin Diesel, Star-Lord and Groot, or Tree as Thor calls him. This kind of gives you an idea of where this is happening in the timeline between Avengers Endgame's ending and that Thor as Guardians of the Galaxy scene, and what's going on with the plot of Thor 4 separately from the plot of Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Because per that scene, most of the beginning of Guardians 3 is them going to find that other version of Gamora that came forward in the timeline from 2014, the one that did not have the relationship with Star-Lord, so he's going to try and find her and bring her back into the family, so to speak. Originally, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was supposed to be released summer 2020, so had things gone down according to plan, we would have already seen that movie. So originally the crossover plan is that Thor would have showed up at the beginning of Guardians 3, then gone back to Earth. Instead now, Thor 4 is happening first, so they had to switch things, kind of rewrite the scene, and now the Guardians are showing up at the beginning of Thor 4. The reason why everyone was making so much noise about this during the past week is because Chris Pratt and Vin Diesel both just showed up in Australia at the set of the Thor 4 movie to film their scenes, or in Vin Diesel's case, do the voiceover for their scenes, because they use body doubles and special effects to do teenage Groot when they're filming on set. Most of the main cast of Thor 4, Chris Hemsworth, Natalie Portman, Taika Waititi, all started doing their script read-throughs in the past couple of weeks, so that's why I say the Guardians are showing up at the beginning of Thor 4, because they're just getting ready to start shooting the movie right now. Also really cool Star Wars detail. If you've been watching my Star Wars Mandalorian Season 2 videos this past season so far, the technology that they used to film that with the really cool LED walls to sort of map the backgrounds while the actors are walking around, they're actually using a giant supersized version of that to do a lot of the Thor 4 scenes. But just in terms of where this is happening in the timeline at the beginning of Thor 4, with the exception of the giant 5-year time jump in Avengers Endgame, most of the Marvel movies' timeline of movies moves at the same pace as real-life time. So, for instance, Avengers Endgame ended summer 2023. Thor 4 is coming out a couple years after Avengers Endgame, so a couple years will probably have gone by when Thor 4 is picking up, giving Thor time to lose all that weight, which will make you guys happy. Taika Waititi actually did a live stream a while ago earlier this year. People asked him, will there be fat Thor during Thor 4? He pretty much said that that joke had been played out, so they weren't planning on doubling down on Fat Thor a whole bunch. So maybe they'll have some jokes at the beginning of the movie about him losing the weight and Star-Lord's Bowflex just to call back to the jokes from Avengers Infinity War with Thor and the Guardians. But for the most part, Thor will go back to being the version of Thor that you know him as, even though he will get a different look during the film. Like each new Thor movie, he gets a slightly different costume, slightly different look. For the most part, he'll look like you expect him to look. Christian Bale also just showed up in Australia on the set of Thor 4. He's going to be their main villain. Obviously, he's still a mystery character, though there are a lot of really good, solid theories and rumors. He's supposed to be a space-based villain from somewhere else, so that kind of tells you why it's relevant that Thor is still with the Guardians at the beginning of Thor 4. He still has Stormbreaker, he can still open the Bifrost anytime he wants, allowing him to fast travel all over the universe. So he's not really traveling with them just because he needs a ride, like he says that at the end of Avengers Endgame. He's mostly traveling with them just for fun, for the adventure of it, because they're his friends. But it makes sense he's with them at the beginning of Thor 4, getting into all kinds of trouble in deep space when he learns about the threat of Christian Bale's villain that provides him with the need to go back to New Asgard on Earth. Also, thinking about this in a multiverse sense, because multiverse is such a big story trope during Marvel Phase 4. Taika Waititi also confirmed that Loki would be in the movie because he said it'd be weird to do a Thor movie without a version of Loki, but it's going to be the multiverse Loki from Avengers Endgame in the Loki series showing up in this reality. He'll probably also have something to do with Thor's reason for coming back to planet Earth. Because the Loki series is literally Loki traveling throughout Earth's history messing with major events. Even though when he's doing this, he's kind of in multiple alternate realities, and they're doing multiple versions of Loki from the comics. Like, you have the main Loki that looks like Tom Hiddleston, then you have Kid Loki, you have Female Loki, you have Old Man Loki. They're gonna get really crazy with the Loki series. Don't worry, it's premiering during 2021. I'll mention that in a second again, too. But that explains why Loki is near planet Earth during the events of Thor 4, because most of the series will take place on different versions of Earth. He can also help explain some of the bigger twists, like Jane Foster wielding a version of Mjolnir, because either they have to get one from an alternate universe, because Hela destroyed the original one, or they have to get the dwarves to forge a new one, or they have to get them to reforge the old one. I think it's just a little more exciting if multiverse is such a big deal during Marvel Phase 4 if you just get a Mjolnir from an alternate reality. But also, you have to remember, thinking about the multiverse, Doctor Strange 2 Multiverse of Madness is literally being released 1 month after Thor 4 comes out in theaters. So we might wind up with another Doctor Strange Thor crossover scene, sort of calling back to the jokes from their crossover in Thor Ragnarok and the original Doctor Strange movie. You just have to imagine a version of this scene where this is the alternate reality version of Loki going through another version of this, trying to have a standoff with Doctor Strange and still getting his ass handed to him.
I have been falling for 30 minutes!
But just talking about Marvel Phase 4 story progression in the multiverse, because that's such a big deal. You have more and more alternate reality versions of Avengers characters showing up in the Marvel Phase 4 movies and Disney Plus series, all starting with the Wandavision episodes. So Wandavision is really the beginning of explaining all these big story twists. So not only is it really important to Marvel Phase 4, it's just going to be a super cool series in general. Marvel finally confirmed that WandaVision is going to be released January 15th, 2021, just a small couple weeks delay. The Mandalorian Season 2 finale is going to air December 18th, so really it's not that long before WandaVision starts. The Loki series is still on track to be released during 2021, after Falcon and Winter Soldier, but you have Morbius being released in March, Falcon and Winter Soldier probably being released sometime right after WandaVision within a couple weeks, then you have the Black Widow movie in May, Venom 2 in June, Shang-Chi in July. Marvel's What If series is also still supposed to be released at some point during the summer, maybe late summer. The Eternals movie is in November, Spider-Man 3 is in December, then right after that Thor 4 is being released in February 2022. Then like I said, 1 month after that in March, Doctor Strange 2 is coming out. But everyone let me know in the comments if Thor is going to continue to be sort of this bridge between the cosmic stuff and the Earth-based stuff in Marvel Phase 4 and Marvel Phase 5. Which other big movies and characters do you want to see him cross over into? I know everyone would love to see a Silver Surfer Thor crossover sometime during Marvel Phase 5, so hopefully he'll show up at some point during the Fantastic Four movie. But while you wait for everything, everyone click here for my full Star Wars Mandalorian Season 2 Episode 3 video, and click here for that Thor 4 teaser that Taika Waititi released earlier this year. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, I'll see you guys tonight.